And we're live.
Welcome, everybody, to Heathen Talk, your favorite Heathen podcast where we're here with you every week for 90 minutes, whether you like it or not. I am Lauren, your host. With me, as always, is the fabulous Thorin. And filling in for Josh tonight is our good friend Toby, our executive producer. And we also have Marc with us, who's running the chat room. So if you're listening, head on over there. You can go there from the main part of our website and log in, and we'll have lots of questions. So since tonight we are talking about luck. But before we get started, I do want to remind you guys that this episode of Heathen Talk is brought to you by Sam Flegel at FaithfulSigns.com, featuring Norse mythology-themed art that explores the various legends and traditions of the ancient Germanic peoples. Faithful Signs offers prints and original art that speaks to anyone who loves art or Germanic mythology. This week, Sam's released a new painting, and if you haven't seen it yet, it's mind-blowing. It really is. It's called The King's New Crown, and it's a compelling piece that interprets the Horn God. Which one? Well, that's up for you to decide. Also, we're still taking pre-orders for the Kickstarter for the illustrated Havamal, so you can go to faithfulsigns.com, and the prints on that Horn God piece, that King's New Crown, they're limited edition, so you want to go over there and get one right now before they're all gone. And also, lots of other great stuff. Beautiful work. I bought a print of one of his Frigga works, and it has just, like, I've gotten so many comments on it from heathens and non-heathens alike, how much they love it. You know, Sam's been a huge supporter of the show, and we're always happy to return the favor. So go to his website, and you are not going to be able to resist buying everything. Just incredibly compelling works of art. That's faithfulsigns.com. Evening, everybody.
Howdy.
Howdy.
So go ahead, Lauren.
Tonight's about luck, but first we're going to do our toast with Toby has got that.
So friend of the show, personal acquaintance of mine, his nom de plume is Woodgar Mingling, has just released the first of his first e-zine and publication of the Larhus Fernsidu. It's a examination of Anglo-Saxon heathenry, and it's sort of a clearinghouse for that. It's a place to go and get good information. They've got a pretty active Facebook group. The website's got tons of information. They're constantly trying to put information out there. He's really dedicated and to getting this stuff out there and being a voice for Anglo-Saxon heathenry, which is its own tradition and its own. It's actually the tradition that I came out of before selling into Theodish belief. I highly recommend you at least check it out. See what they've got. Tonight, I'd like to raise a glass to Woodgar and the Larhus Fernsidu.
Well. So, Thorin, since you were having a time of it with your drink, what are you drinking tonight?
Yeah, to let everybody know what that's about. I've been drinking a lot of bottle-finished beers lately, farmhouse ales, sours, saisons, etc., and they can be unpredictable when you pop the cap, and I've had a number of bottle bombs lately. This one was no exception, but you know what? It's worth the trouble. It's actually really good. It's from Southern Tier. It's called Grand Arbor. It's a Belgian-style farmhouse ale, bottle-finished. It's just really malty, funky, a little bit of light citrus in the background. It's just really an exceptional example of the style.
What you drinking, Toby?
I am drinking the most inoffensive beer I've ever had in my life. It is decent. It is not awful tasting. There's nothing wrong with this beer at all. There's nothing really about this beer at all. It's Diesel Punk's Honey Amber.
Oh yeah, I've had that.
Points to the label design. I find the label design incredibly funky and interesting, but oh man, I can't tell you. It's just like, oh, That's a beer. Well, what kind of beer is it?
Uh,
It's a beer. Well, is it a lager or an ale or what is it? It's a beer. It's a beer.
I
I recommend their porter. By the way, it's just to redeem the brewery a little bit. They're not a bad brewery, but that particular one is extremely boring.
Lauren, what are you
So
drinking?
yeah, Lauren.
I'm not drinking alcohol tonight because I have to get up at a ridiculous hour in the morning, and I always have that kind of like head achy thing going on because I haven't had alcohol in so long. So I'm having a Fufu Fancy Zevia root beer, which there you go,
Ooh.
which is a stevia-based root beer. Really enjoy it, and it's one of my favorites. But that's pretty much my It's kind of those things like today. It's kind of like,
Have,
I'm a
have you
heathen
em-
that doesn't feel like drinking. I think there's something wrong.
have
But
you
yeah,
emptied your cellar of the 2016 Dr Pepper vintage?
yes, we have. It did go off special at the Kroger, so this is what I had coupons for this week.
All right, so a little bit more before we get into the meat of the show is to give you guys a little bit of an update about Cascadia Moot. Yes, that the date of Cascadia Moot is fast approaching, and some of you guys from HD will be, from Heathen Talk, will be joining us at Cascadia Moot, so we're excited to have you and we want to tell you a little bit more about what's going on. Some of you are waiting to register, and I understand that, trying to find the best time to spend that money, but you're running out of time to register easily. Because of the way the financial situation works with GoFundMe, we're going to have to end that on April 30th, and you won't be able to pre-register through GoFundMe anymore, and that is honestly going to be the easiest way to register. So any of you guys that are hanging on, waiting to the last minute to register, you should do that this month, because at the end of this month you won't be able to do it that way anymore. Other than that, we're getting together a few little final packets of information so we can put out to you guys things like the menu, schedule of some of the events that we're going to be doing during the course time. So keep updated on the Facebook page, and buy all that is holy if you haven't done it yet, but you want to come. Go to the Cascadia Moot GoFundMe and get registered.
And if you guys haven't been out to the Facebook page for Cascadia Moot, go. We've got pictures up there, videos from the organizers. You get to see the venue. We'll be posting more information. It's coming down to the wire. We're almost a month away.
And I mean, what other chance are you going to have to be able to meet every single Heathen Talk host at once, plus Toby?
Yeah, we're all going to be there. Let's see. The only person of the permanent cast that's not going to be able to make it is going to be Marc.
Yeah.
That's plus best-selling author Toby. Thank you very much.
Plus
Anyway,
What qualifies now as a best-selling author?
21 copies.
21 copies?
In a day.
Okay, fair enough.
We're not talking
Anyway.
about that book.
And we're not talking about that. All right. So what are we talking about then?
Well, we're talking about luck. This is going to be another one in our basic series. So for those of you that remember the train wreck of an episode on Weird, strap in. This one's going to be, like I said, on luck, which is one of those concepts that should be ridiculously easy, but is so nebulous to try to really wrap your hands around and understand the Heathen context that it really does deserve its own episode or three, possibly a couple of book series. I could probably fill a library with the references you need to begin to understand it, but we're going to try to cover it in an hour and a half.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the concept itself is not particularly difficult. It's the separation of luck as the modern like we use the same word for two different kinds of concepts, right?
Right.
So, and it's easier when we use a word that has a specific meaning, and we can separate those two meanings. In Old English, it would be Stella. And in fact, using that term in formal communication, it's very clear what you mean, as opposed to luck, which can be a little bit muddier.
Yeah, and like you pointed out, the hardest part, the hardest single part anyway, of understanding the concept of luck is unwrapping it or unfastening it from the overculture word luck. It's definitely a different concept, but it stems from the same root concept.
Okay.
And that's not a that's not a terrible, that happens a lot in heathenry.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, we're talking about our overculture does, in essence. I mean, we talk a lot about how our overculture is informed by Christianity, but that's only part of the story. Our overculture is very much informed by its European roots, among many other roots. But what you get over time is when you change the basic philosophical underpinnings of a culture, you end up getting concepts that have their basic philosophical underpinnings changed as well.
Right.
Sorry.
And I think it's important to understand that our concept of the world has shifted. It's pendulum swung. The concept that we have now of luck has more to do with random happenstance than, say, a high Middle Ages peasant, where everything happens according to God's plan, and everything
Right.
happens according to a prescribed or prescribed set of outcomes based on an all-powerful prime motivator or initial actor, and that is the God, the Creator, the Christian God. Whereas when we talked about Weird and that time, we have a lot of different actions and conflicting actions going, and sometimes the actions that one person takes is directly in opposition to another person's action, and the outcome of that action is determined by the actions that precede it, but also according to that person's luck or that person's Sela.
Right. And I think this is definitely an example, similar to Weird, and where Weird is often simply translated as fate. I think luck is another concept that, as it lost its importance to our daily lives as a concept, as a foundation that it was built on was eroded by other concepts, luck also got simplified. And it got simplified in a way that kind of destroys its meaning. And so hopefully we can try to build that meaning back up a little bit. So I maybe start with explaining what we're talking about with the overculture view of luck, so that we can know what exactly it is we're tearing down. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I always think of, when you're talking about it from an overculture point of view, luck is always that random chance, that flip of the coin, that roll of the dice. You don't know how it's going to come out until it comes out, and there's really no way to even begin to predict it.
Well, it's when you are successful not because of your own work, or unsuccessful because luck can be good or bad. Not because, basically, it doesn't matter how hard you work or what you do. Luck is what determined the outcome of that. Usually this happens when something doesn't go someone's way, or doesn't go the way they think it should, or that's where I always hear luck. It's either, oh man, he's just so lucky he doesn't do anything and he just won the lottery, or that kind of stuff.
So the first thing I want to do is I do want to disagree with you, Lauren, on that luck can be good or bad. I think luck is pretty much just good, and it's really about resource management.
I'm talking about colloquially.
Yeah, we're showing the overculture.
Overculture.
Don't get ahead of us, Toby.
Yeah, you're way ahead of us. I'm talking about the colloquial overculture definition, how luck is used in modern language.
Okay, fair enough. My bad.
And once we get to where you are, Toby, I'll disagree with you on that.
Yeah, we've had that discussion. That should be fun. I look at the overculture as I'm going to contrast the overculture versus the heathen concept of luck and say the difference between coincidence and power. So a lucky person is somebody who coincidentally gets what he wants in a modern concept of the modern definition of the word. Whereas a heathen view of luck is a person's things break for that person's way, not simply out of coincidence, but out of a sense of power that's associated with his inherent or cultivated, as actually not inherent, but cultivated, for lack of a better word, goodness or mana or luck.
There's going to be a lot of, for lack of a better word, tonight, I think.
Mm-hmm. But that's how I look at the two definitions.
Well, I guess we're contrasting them like that, which is really a great way to go. I would mostly, I'm going to go with an analogy or metaphor, or whatever you want to call it, that I'm particularly favoring right now is the idea of the dice roll. Is if I were to contrast the two, I would say that in the modern overculture view of luck, you're just rolling dice, and in the heathen view, you're rolling loaded dice when it comes to luck. Not saying that everything's always going to land on sixes, but in certain areas there's going to be a higher chance of you landing on sixes than random chance can possibly provide.
Okay. I can see that.
Yeah.
For our geeks in the audience, that's a nat 20 I'm talking about.
Oh, I don't like to show off my geek. It's like admitting that you participated in a stage show of Rocky Horror when you were a teenager. It's just something you don't admit to.
Toby's trying to cover up the mad modifiers he's got to his roll.
Seriously, I mean, I don't know what you're talking about you used to do.
We're talking about a man who can make money off of a joke.
No, it's not really a question of if I'm a geek. It's just I'm a little embarrassed at showing how much of a geek I can be. So
we host a podcast. I just want to state that for the record.
That's
Roy,
not
not
nearly as geeky as it was 5 years ago.
Fair enough.
You're not helping. But I did get a full set of solid metal dice for my groomsman gift for the wedding I was in 2 weeks ago. That was fun.
That's actually what I got my husband for our first Valentine's Day together.
Aww.
We're gamers, I mean. But luck. So luck. I think with it's kind of funny that like luck. I really though now that you've said that, the heathen version of luck is much more similar to gaming mechanics than the overcultures. It really is.
This is why I went with the dice.
Oh my gosh, that is such a great analogy, Thorin.
I'll be honest with everybody on the show that when we do some of the more complicated episodes like this, we do try to have show notes, and I took it upon myself last week saying I was going to write the show notes, and I had about 15% of them done half an hour ago. And the other 85% I completed on the fly right before we went into our pre-show, and that's when the dice rolling analogy came to me, and I just can't let it go. I'm sure that since it's such a young analogy, somebody's going to find a way to completely crack it and make me hate it forever. But there it is.
Like every single weird analogy that I have ever encountered,
Well, inevitably, you come up with a simple analogy to try to explain a concept, and somebody has to show you all the ways that it's impractical.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think that sometimes you have to have that simple analogy because you can't just dive into something and be like, oh, well, by the way, blah, 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 and give them this high level definition. I mean, you don't start teaching somebody theoretical physics when they haven't had, general physics.
This is true. But then again, how many simple analogies did we have to go to on Weird?
True. The benefit of an analogy, of course, is that it presents an idea in a digestible way. The part that I hate about a lot of analogies is then by the time you're done explaining using the analogy, you're debating the analogy. You've now stretched it so thin that it's transparent and broken, and then you're like, well, forget all that.
Well, let me get meta here for a minute. Analogies are like pop science articles. They're really good at explaining the basics, but if you try to actually understand something thoroughly using them, you're going to have a bad time.
Mm-hmm. So we're getting a little off topic. Let's bring it back. So the idea of luck being making things break your way, like just that nudge of the dice or that little bit of oomph to make or a lot of oomph to make something that that's in doubt fall in your favor is kind of, I mean, that's the basic idea of heathen luck, but there's a depth to that, and the depth that I want to get to is the idea of building up your luck. That luck is not just a quality; it's a resource. It's something that you have to invest. You hoard it. You earn it. You spend it. Sometimes you waste it. And the quality of lucky can often mean how you go about spending that resource, whether it's spent wisely and in line with your inherent proclivities or attributes or abilities, or whether you're spending it contrary to that, or you're spending that on situations and times where it just doesn't matter, and you're wasting it away.
So what you're saying is you don't save enough fate chips for when you get down really injured when you're playing Dresden.
You just outgeeked me. That's well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, now that we're on to our second and our 2.5 analogy and explaining luck, I was going with Toby's number 2 of being money.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that just derailed. So, yeah, somebody go, because I just completely derailed.
Well, it is like money. I mean, it is very much like money. Money is just an arbitrary marker for time. The old saw that time is money has got kind of it backwards. Like I earn a certain number of dollars or widgets or whatever, fate points if we want to talk about esoteric role-playing games. But I earn a certain amount of resource for my labor, and I use my brain for that. I use, like, I have much better I have skill set and knowledge and abilities that mean that I'm much better sitting in an office solving computer problems than I am digging ditches. And there are people that are physically fit, stronger than I am. They have endurance. They enjoy being outdoors. They don't hate the very idea of physical exertion. They're digging ditches, or they're building skyscrapers, or working on machinery in ways that I would just be plumb useless at. and to them, to those people, they can earn their living that way. And the interesting thing about luck is that we can't really assign a discrete unit to it. We can't say, oh, you have $30 worth of luck, or 60 luck points or whatever. That's just an abstraction that is used in certain circumstances, mainly gaming situations, for modeling a much more organic uh, problem.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think for once, you geeks out there are going to have a better time at understanding this than the non-geeks, because if you understand the mechanics of tabletop role-playing games, you're going to have a lot better time figuring this one out. Because you could just as easily describe luck as your modifiers. Everybody's got the same dice in the game, but everybody's modifiers are a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So,
depending on the game you're
See,
playing.
I would disagree. I would disagree with that.
How so?
I would say that your modifiers are, because to me, what you're doing, your modifiers are your actual proficiency. Luck is going to be. Well, okay, I'm not gonna try, because I'm about to go way off into a gamer tangent. But for me, it comes down to luck is. I don't know. It's like I said, that doesn't completely ring true for me. But I play different systems than just D&D.
Well, the
so.
analogy falls apart when you start talking about character building versus just a snapshot.
Yeah, well, I mean, just the idea of, I guess, because to me, I think that there's also something that should be represented when you're having this discussion of, yes, there is luck, but luck is not the only thing that's going to carry you through.
Well, absolutely not. I mean,
yeah.
You can absolutely destroy your luck by not cultivating it, as Toby was getting at earlier.
Mm-hmm. And it is a resource, so it may get you through. It may get you through a moment or a problem, but once it's spent, it's gone.
Well, I think this is going to be one of those places where luck ties into so many other basic concepts that we have. In fact, operationally, it's extremely similar in some fashion, anyway, to reputation. In that you can have a good reputation, but if you don't cultivate that reputation, you can easily destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
And luck is the same way. Once you recognize what your luck is, if you don't actively try to work with what you've recognized, then you're going to spend it all, and you're not going to have anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could almost think of it and really, it's just a tangible good, and like every other tangible good, you have to build it up. You have to earn it, for lack of a better way to put it in a more overculture type thing. Earn it or inherit it or somehow otherwise obtain it. It's not something that just magically appears out of nowhere.
It depends on your definition of magically appearing out of nowhere.
It doesn't manifest from nothing.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
The result of our actions and the result of our. It is the result of our decisions and our actions being laid into the well that qualify an action as lucky or not. Like sometimes you can say, well, that was lucky because it broke my way. But then you can say that person is lucky in the sense that he makes smart decisions, he uses his resources wisely, he brings forth the good opportunities that are available to him because of all those discrete actions that lead you to a place. Like, there's a ridiculous, pretentious meme that I love anyway, where it goes, the master has failed more times than the student has ever tried. and the master develops that luck, develops that skill, and luck is very much tied to that kind of skill. In Eastern philosophy, you have that building up of skill, so much so that you can attain a magic, like a quasi magical state of mastery there that isn't quite the same thing, but it is understanding that one definitely leads into the other. And I've lost everyone.
No,
No.
you're right. I was trying to think about, this is where you kind of get into that discussion of whether or not luck and skill, or luck and education, maybe, are intrinsically tied to one another.
Well, let me say this. In the sense that we have luck that is passed down family line, part of that, in my personal opinion, as someone who's thought a lot about it, is part of that is education and skill. What school did your parents choose to send you to? What could your what did your family teach you? If I get stranded, if I were still able to drive, thanks, Obama, and had a tire blowout or had something happen with my car, my dad taught me how to, I had to learn how to change a tire before I could get my permit. So I was able to, so to me, it is tied together in that sense, because I think it's all kind of part of the choices that you make and the choices that your family makes.
And we're picking a lot of really mundane and regular regular actions from which to build our luck. But I think there's something to be said about the right action, meaning not just do I build up my skill, do I build up my my abilities, but also how do I maintain these good relationships? A man can be very lucky in his friends. I have a great story from the wedding. Um, 2 hours, 2.5 hours before the wedding was supposed to go on, a major part of the post-wedding entertainment, which was a mime, canceled. And because I am very lucky in my friendships and very lucky in the people that I know, I was able to, in 15 minutes, secure an emergency replacement mime. And yes, I have an emergency replacement mime. And the plan, or the wedding, was allowed to continue as planned. Now, would the wedding have been derailed by this? No. But I demonstrated my luck, and it built my reputation through that, through having that luck. You weren't wrong when you said that luck and reputation are very much tied together. And so how do we build luck is one of the questions that we got asked, and it kind of segues into some of the things we want to talk about. I'm going to answer it shortly and say right action builds luck. The best action, the right action in any given time. Sometimes that's very mundane. Sometimes that's very much, well, I pay my taxes, pay my bills, and get a good job and don't spend money I don't have, and now I'm lucky in that sense. But also, I give to my ancestors. I give to the gods. I give in the proper way at the proper appointed times, and that builds luck as well. And that's sometimes the most powerful and strange luck that you can imagine. And this actually gets into a good topic, and I want to hear Thorin's thoughts on it because I know I disagree with him. Are there multiple different kinds of luck?
I absolutely believe so. And my reasoning for this is not just anecdotal. It's not just observational. It's also the kind of things that we see in primary sources as to how our ancestors thought about the concept. You see people that are considered to have good wind luck, for example, the type of person who I'm not even going to try to dig out the book and name the king off the top of my head, but a king that was known for being able to sail the 3 days distance in 1 day before the same wind as other people were sailing with the same boat. One of them had his nickname was Storm Hat, or something along those lines, because it was believed he held the weather under his hat, because just by changing the direction he was wearing his hat, he could change the direction of the wind. And that kind of thing was tied to how people conceived his luck. And I would put this out there to bring it back into the, I said not just anecdotal, but I do have, my own anecdotal experience in my life, seeing areas where, I am lucky with one sort of thing, but definitely do not have luck with other sorts of things. Amen, motherfucker. For example, the aforementioned wind luck. I don't have it. I don't have it at all. I'm using that term loosely to cover my my transportation. I have really bad luck when it comes to my cars. I have the skills to make sure that doesn't become a consistent problem because I am a mechanic, but I have an unreasonable amount of issues with my vehicles, above and beyond what everybody should. So, I mean, that's just a little bit of why I disagree with you on whether or not luck can be discrete.
Well, I mean, I don't disagree in the sense that where we spend our luck is a the return of how we spend our luck is a quality of our luck. But I don't, and this gets to the heart of it. I find it unhelpful to think about it in terms of different kinds of luck, like different kinds of points on a spreadsheet, or different kinds of totals in a list, or different attributes on a character sheet. I've got an 18 in win luck, but only a 4 in gambling luck, or I've got really good luck in friends, but I have absolutely terrible luck when it comes to catching baseballs. I think that is how that luck ties to different aspects of ourselves and different aspects of our Orlaw to express. Like, it takes a lot more luck to overcome the deficiency, like what you describe as win luck, and being unlucky in vehicles and having vehicles constantly break down. If you happen to find a vehicle that is super reliable for you, you're gonna find that your overall luck has been depleted. It just costs more to get the same result in that particular circumstance than it does for another person.
But you see, but that right there, the last point you're making would be exactly the same thing I would say to bolster the concept of discrete luck. The fact that it takes more of my luck in the way you describe it to find a reliable vehicle versus well, I think that I would find it just as easy as you to get a emergency replacement mine, because that's the sort of thing that I have good luck with. Is those holy crap, there's no time and this thing needs to be done, and give me, no worries, guys, give me 10 minutes and a cell phone. This will get handled. That's the kind of luck I have.
To go into a actual non-geeky kind of way of putting this, we all have different luck exchange rates on different things.
Yes, that's where I was going with that. Like I think and Lauren, please finish your comment.
Well, I mean, because we all have, and it's, through family background. I mean, it's with your Orlog. I mean, there's so many. You can't, and I think it's so complex that you can't just point down and say, oh, well, this is the reason why. And sometimes you may not even be totally aware of what they all are, but, because we all kind of have I think everyone in life has certain things. For me, I have the worst luck in starting a job and having, I have and I'm using luck colloquially. For me, like, anytime I start a new job, the paperwork turns into an absolute cluster, without fail. And everyone has those things. I just think that it's a situation where it just is. And while, yes, I kind of fall in the middle of you two guys, where, yes, I think that they're discrete, like, luck. I think that there are definitely, I think it's definitely kind of somewhere in the middle, where there are just going to be things that your luck doesn't apply as well to as others, or it takes more resources. In the same way that it takes more resources to, regionally to buy, the only thing I can think of that really kind of, okay, so like the
houses are more expensive in Seattle than they are in Arkansas.
Well, I was going to say cigarettes, but that was the only thing I could think of.
That too, probably, yeah.
Yeah, because of, and the reason is because different states have different levels of tobacco taxation or sin taxes. Alcohol can be the same way, and so it's, and one of the things with a lot of this, and I hate to, well, I fully believe that you can build up your luck. I personally recognize the idea that with things like that, like with you're talking about with cars, with me and paperwork, it just is, and I accept that it just is, and there's no, that my sentence stops after that. You just kind of have to go, okay, well, then that just means I have to work around it. I have to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
Because heathenry, if nothing, is an incredibly pragmatic religion in the sense that we tend to accept reality as it is, rather than try to project onto it some great reality that's going to happen when I.
Right. I mean, this certainly isn't a mathematic equation.
No.
Nobody's going to be able to go out there and say, if this and that when it comes to their luck.
Mm-hmm.
As nice as that would be.
If I help 8 old ladies across the street and I do this and I do this, then I'll win the lottery. Right? Is that how it works?
Say 6 Hail Marys and 3 rosaries and go and sin no more?
Sure.
The universe and everyone else has a low opinion of accountants.
Now, I do want to kind of, because there's another, within pagan-y, heathen-y circles, especially when I'm talking to general neo-pagans, new agey folks, there can be a confusion with the heathen concept of luck, and when I'm specifically saying karma, I'm talking about the Western use of the word, not the actual, like, religious concept.
Okay.
Where karma is just tends to, or even the rule of 3 when it comes to, to Wicca influenced neo-paganism, and I think that might be something worth, like, at least touching on the difference between them, because that can be confusing. It was confusing to me when I first came into heathenry.
Well, I mean, the Western ideal of karma is certainly the ultimate in cosmic vending machine mentality.
Yes, it is.
And I think we've discussed on various topics that we don't have the benefit of the cosmic vending machine as heathens.
Nope.
It comes down to like fundamental worldview. I mean, I don't hate to harp on it. This is the one thing we have to keep hammering over and over and over again. The heathen worldview is one where the universe is on some level fundamentally um, uninterested and uncaring in our existence. That the universe doesn't care about us. That in many ways the universe is absolutely what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, Not hospitable to us or inhospitable to us. It actively would kill us. I mean, for 99% of the universe is vacuum, cold, unrelenting vacuum, and it's only this tiny little ball of rock in this tiny little corner of a tiny insignificant galaxy that we exist.
But
We're just
Toby,
the
this puddle is perfectly shaped for us.
I, I
We're
don't
on
catch the
episode 42, right?
yeah. Oh yes.
Thank you.
No,
The
we're on
geeks in the
episode
house.
41.
I'm going to pretend it's 42 so that way the geeks will get my joke. Sorry, I derailed you. Continue.
But so in that situation, the idea of karma just doesn't make sense. Like the pop pagan rule of three idea of karma is based on a universe that is fundamentally just, and it's just not that way.
Right.
So,
Sorry, I'm
so
consulting our much discarded show notes.
Yeah. Well, but you know what? That's okay.
Well, no, it is okay. I mean, we're
Yeah.
hitting all the points. We're just hitting them in different order than were originally intended, which is how it usually tends to go anyway.
So let's, yeah, one of the things that I want to go back to, because you guys kind of moved on a little fast and I didn't get to, because we had that question about, can you improve your luck? Can you change your luck? And Toby talked about the relationships, and I want to bring this up because it's really interesting. I'm actually, I'm in college, and one of the classes I'm in right now is basically it's a business etiquette class, but it comes down to networking. And so we're reading this book called Never Eat Alone, and oh my goodness, it's the most heathen book I've ever read in my life. It is all about like relationships and right relationships and how those right relationships are what are going to make you successful, and it just so I honestly think that we were talking about building that network because there are some people that doesn't come naturally to. It's a skill.
Mm-hmm.
There's some really great resources out there to help you. One of the things that I kind of joked with is that I wouldn't let anybody in my kindred that hadn't read How to Win Friends and Influence People, because it's a great book. I mean, there's lots of resources if you want to build that part of your luck, that network, those friends. Don't feel, I have been in places where I felt like I've had no friends. It's not hopeless. You can do it. And I feel like that encouragement needs to be put out there because, honestly, there are people in that situation within heathenry that feel like, oh, well, my luck is so bad, I'm never going to be able to change things. Kind of like when we talked about the reputation thing. My reputation is so bad, I can't change things. And neither one of these things are static resources.
No, and you can absolutely change your luck. You can absolutely find friends. You just have to take the appropriate two steps to the left of yourself, and just step outside of yourself for just a moment, and evaluate clearly what's going on in your life. You have to take a good hard look at yourself and see what patterns you're enacting that are causing you to end up in this place, because it all comes down to right action, right? It's just
Right.
how do we do this? And sometimes it means that sometimes it means that you're just kind of a d-bag and you need to start putting other people before you, and you got to stop like dumping emotionally, and maybe go see a therapist. You got to stop like sucking all the attention out of the room, and because you don't feel like you have any worth, you're gonna have to kind of get that sense of worthlessness out of yourself, and
And then once again, I will come back to you. That's why the book. I will say, even though it is not a heathen book, I think How to Win Friends and Influence People is so important to read because that's what it's all about. It's about getting out by yourself, being a. I think there's a point within, and even with heathenry, with being a generous person, not overly generous, but being a generous person when you're with someone, giving them your full attention, which is something and nowadays just almost never happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't be a jackass, I mean, really, guys, please.
Don't be a jackass or a d-bag.
Don't be a jackass.
Yeah. Wheaton's Law, geeks. Wheaton's Law.
Wheaton's Law.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. But getting back to right action, I mean, sometimes it's you, and sometimes it's you not maintaining the correct relationships. And if you're a messy, terrible person and you're a housewife likes a clean house, that can lead to some terrible home life experiences. If you're if your friends are constantly having to pull you out of situations, maybe you need to not only recognize and thank them for all of the time and effort they spend on you, but also stop getting in those situations. Take some responsibility, take some ownership of your life, and realize that luck isn't something that happens to you. It's something that you make happen.
And that is the crux between the colloquial view of luck and the heathen worldview of luck. I mean, that right there is that's the break right there.
So I think with that, we've finally finished section 1 of 4 of today's episode. Shall we move to section 2?
I kind of want to. I actually do want to stick in a little bit with the idea of building your luck. I mean,
yeah.
I think it's I have often said that heathenry it's not a single religion. It's multiple religions, and I said you have your house cult, your family cult, and your tribal cult. Luck isn't. Building your luck isn't just a question of going to church on Sunday and tithing correctly. But it is about engaging in those religious obligations that you first set up, and you set those up in order to gain luck in the form of blessings.
I mean,
Blessings are powerful luck.
In a lot of ways, you could almost describe your luck as the sum of your Orlog and your Weird. In a lot of ways, it's the past actions that led up to you, by which I mean the situation, the state that you were born into, and then the actions that you follow that up with. How you take what you started with and build on it. You guys follow me from there?
Mm-hmm.
Any major disagreements? Okay, sorry, because this is I'm kind of building this one on the fly. So, you look at situations where, being born into, for example, a very small community to a respected family, your luck with people is going to be good from the day you were born. Whereas maybe being born to a family that doesn't know their neighbors in a large cookie-cutter suburb, not so much, unless you do something about it over the course of your life, unless you try to build your people luck. I swear I'm going somewhere with this.
No, you're good.
But it's the same thing as Lauren was describing earlier, where, when talking about, my luck with cars. My luck with cars could be a lot worse because I could be an individual who never learned how to do anything about it. I was never taught how to work on cars by my family because it was never something that my folks were terribly into themselves. So I went out and became a mechanic. And so now I have an unreasonable amount of automotive failures in my life, but I don't have to usually spend the thousands upon thousands of dollars that it takes to correct them because I can do most of it myself. And I would say that is an example of improving my luck, is recognizing a deficiency and correcting it. I think recognition when it comes to luck, understanding your luck and the luck of those around you is one of the biggest influences on how your luck develops.
I think there's a lot of truth in surrounding yourself with successful people or people who have luck as a large resource than, hanging around people who don't care if they're cultivating their luck. That to me is important. I think that's a huge thing. It's why most kindreds are so cautious about adding people, and most people should be cautious about joining kindreds because you are joining your luck with theirs, and that can.
I knew we'd get into this.
Basically, it's like deciding if you're going to have a joint bank account with your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend.
No. No.
They have
just no 1,000 times no.
No.
Boys and girls, if you haven't done it yet, don't join your finances. It's a bad idea. My wife and I have not, and we have never been happier.
See, we have mine, yours, and ours, where there's money that goes into a certain account to pay joint bills, but otherwise it's separate.
I think that can only work if you guys have damn near the same income.
Well, no, it's not like we put in the same amount or anything. It's a whole system.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, but for the most part, I don't like having to tell anybody who's. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Separate finances are awesome.
So back onto luck.
Yes.
You and I digressed again. At any given point, me and somebody is going to digress. That's a law of heathen talk.
Analogies suck because you want to argue the analogy. You absolutely mingle your luck, and and even if you have separate accounts, that's just an example of how we compensate for or recognize the potential issues in luck. You're still mingling your resources. I mean, you're still having to. Even if you maintain separate bank accounts,
we both live in a place with one rent. We are both in the same cell phone account, et cetera, et cetera.
And if somebody's short $20, that means you're gonna have to cough up an extra $20.
Which is a really great way for us to get into the concept of shared luck.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that the question has been asked by somebody. Probably multiple somebodies at some point about whether or not you do mingle your luck, and the answer to that is, I think at this point you can understand from us, an unequivocal yes. But what would you say the situations are where people's luck become entwined?
It's when their weird is entwined. I mean, it's part geographical, part action, part relationships, and I don't want to say genetics because that's not really what I'm going at, but if you're related to that person, you're absolutely tied to them.
Yeah.
And the concept of it, and when they are successful, you are successful, and when they're not successful, you're just by virtue of being around them, you're gonna have to deal with the effects of their success or non-success. And the great thing about heathenry for me is the explicit urge to make everyone in your hold, everyone in your yard, successful. whether you have a financial stake in your cousin or not, you still want to see your cousin successful because you have obligations to that person, and if that person is destitute, you have obligations to help them, and if you don't, your luck is going to sour.
Right. But I mean, at that point, we start talking about maybe degrees of separation, for lack of a better term, as far as the mingling of luck goes. I know a lot of times when we talk about the concepts behind tribe building and behind family, et cetera, we talk in almost absolute terms about people combining luck or mingling their luck. And I think this is a good point to point out that there are degrees. My luck is, to a certain degree, entwined with my neighbors, but not to as great a degree as they would be with my family or tribe. Great example, my next door neighbor, who I am going to allow to remain anonymous, is a relatively successful and well-known musician, and has seen an extreme amount of luck in that in the last couple of years, and pretty much zero of that has affected me in the least bit. But there are portions of his luck in life that are important to me and that do entwine with me.
Well, to throw out a practical example here, my neighbors on either side, my neighbors that surround us, our house, if someone were to lose their job and then lose their house, well, their house going into foreclosure is going to directly affect me and my financial situation because it's going to affect the value of my home.
Right.
Or if they are throwing crazy, if they're throwing crazy wild parties, my house could get broken into. I mean, I think luck actually is probably one of the best arguments against the kind of totally tribalist, isolationist heathenry that I see, especially in the South. I see it a lot in the South where, well, if you're not in my family or my tribe, F you. And that's just not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
Yeah, no, you've got a point there, but on the other hand, there's always something to be said for the hyperbole of trying to get a concept into somebody's head.
Yeah.
Like I'm my neighbor. I had a neighbor who passed away, and the helping there, giving people space and doing right by your neighbors in that situation is just good neighbor, being a good neighbor. But at the same time, there is a definitive relationship there. There's no relationship with some bunko on the internet, and that reinforcing that concept and saying, look, outside of my yard, I don't owe you anything, helps people understand those concepts and makes it clear that
I think we're talking about completely different things.
Fair enough.
I'm talking about people who say, the people who are basically people who use heathenry as a means to be anti-participation in the world, anti-taxation, anti-public schools, anti-hospitals, public hospitals, anti-government, for lack of a better way to put it. That's the kind of thought I have, where, if you're not blood related to me or in my kindred, you don't matter to me, and I have no obligation whatsoever. I don't care if you live next door to me. There are some people who have that point of view, and that's where that's not I get what you're talking about, but I'm talking about the other end of it when I'm talking to heathens that live, around me, not on the internet. I'm talking about like actual heathen.
Fair enough.
And that is something that I see. But while we're on this, because I think that this is a really good question that ties into here, we had the question, is it possible to deplete the luck of your enemies? So I guess then the question is, I want to tie that into, since we're talking about things like the people we interact with, is it possible, to affect the luck of other people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the closer you are in relationships, the more power you have over that person's luck outside of things like um, outside of other outside of witchcraft, which makes me really uncomfortable, and I've mentioned in the past and will mention in the future. I don't want to talk about it. Um, but you could just be a d-bag and pull somebody down with you. You can actively try to harm someone, um, which will have an effect on their luck.
Well, I mean, you can write a book as a respected heathen opinion and suddenly see somebody else's luck dragged down because of it.
Yep, and sometimes so the thing about witchcraft is sometimes you're that like the idea of don't use the threefold law, but sometimes you're the threefold law coming to. Uh, Sometimes you are that hand of repercussions.
Sometimes you're the nail, sometimes you're the hammer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, somebody brought this up on the IRC, and because it's something that still happens contemporarily in Iceland, knitting poles, which I personally think are kind of like the current use in Iceland is kind of both really cool and weird and funny at the same time.
Okay, listen. In Seattle, it rains. In Boston, they abuse their vowels. In Iceland, they randomly change the structure of their government through popular power. It's really just not worth talking about.
Oh, see, I was talking about the guy who did it because someone killed his dog.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the one that was carrying a knitting pole in the march about the prime minister.
I'm talking about like the guy I'm talking about the guy who someone killed his dog and he raised one against his neighbor, like an actual pole with a calf's head and carved. He actually like did it right, like the whole 9 yards, the whole kit and caboodle, as my grandmother would say.
Next step, necropants.
So the raising of a knitting pole or it's a public it's one part witchcraft, one part public shaming.
Yeah.
And there to do it is to say, hey, this person has done me great wrong, and to do it in such a way that says something very, very specific about the harm that was done and the person who did it. The person who raises the pole kind of stands on his own reputation, right?
Yes, the person raising the pole is definitely staking their own reputation on the raising of it.
Yeah, but I mean, the poll itself doesn't say as much about that person
as the fact that it was raised and who raised it.
Yeah, or who it was raised against. It's like or why it was raised. Like
right.
To gain a reputation of raising a knitting pole for whatever reason over and over again is to really gain a reputation. It's like at that point your reputation is really that piece of it.
But the other end of it is if you're not someone who does it and you actually take the time and raise a true knitting pole, then that says something as well. It's like the boy who cried wolf, the boy who cried knitting pole, maybe?
Well, I mean, reputation certainly plays a huge part in that. I mean, when the town drunk raises the knitting pole against the king, then people are going to look at that a lot differently than if the situation were reversed.
Right. And that, I think, is also important. But, that kind of does bring into the whole idea of, I think that you can, when someone does something that's worth affecting their luck and it's publicly brought out, they're publicly shamed for it. I'm not saying that I know anyone who's done that recently, but you know. But I think that also can be perfect bite for this. I'm sorry. It's just really, I think that's also a way that you can affect, and not necessarily an enemy, because at this point in time, it's less enemy and more idiots. But when we have, you know, I mean, in the same way that, you know, I'm working on an article right now about this because there are, you know, we're a shame culture, and that's kind of something that we aren't. In the same way that heathens kind of suck at boasting, we kind of also suck at shaming.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, can we get to some questions since we're actually 10 minutes late to our normal question time?
Sure.
I'm trying to look in. Morgane, what happens to your luck when someone in your in-guard is a jerk?
And I think she clarified being a jerk as being a type of person who's an oath breaker,
right?
Someone who steals, etc., etc. So this is one of those situations where luck and reputation are intrinsically tied. You're seeing more of an effect as far as, this is my opinion, you're seeing more of a direct effect to your reputation from the actions of your inning guard. But your reputation, as we mentioned earlier, is connected to your luck. So it's going to be dragged down.
It's absolutely true. I mean, the one thing to keep in mind is that the worldview is all encompassing. That you're as much responsible for your family as they are tied to you. So I mean, it's like, what do you do if you know what do you do if your cousin's a jerk? Well, you kind of have to make it right. It's kind of a responsibility. If somebody in your inner yard messes up in a way that is clearly a breach of whatever relationships you're having, you have to make it better. It's a reflection on you. Now, sometimes that might be, and if you have the power to, if the situation requires it, that means estranging yourself. But that's a different kettle of worms.
That's a different show.
Yeah, it's a different show.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just comes down to the whole inner yard dynamic. You are as much a part of their life as they are a part of yours, and that means sometimes going to them and saying, "Look, you're being a terrible person. You need to stop. It's affecting my luck, and it will have an impact on you, because you are known by the company you keep, and everything they do has an effect on who and what you are."
Yeah, and when it comes down to it, you're either spending your time correcting that person's mistakes, or you're not spending your time correcting that person's mistakes. And if you're spending your time correcting that person's mistakes, then you have less resources for the other areas in your life. And if you're not correcting those mistakes, well, then your reputation has suffered.
Another question here that that hasn't touched on anything that we have gotten today is, and I thought this was actually a pretty good one. Does your luck deplete over time if you don't engage in ritual practice? Does luck dissipate over time if not refreshed by our actions?
I think we kind of covered that. Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
I would definitely agree, because you're going to spend it with. I mean, it's the spending of luck is not something that you choose. It's something that happens. It happens it happens below conscious thought. And you're going to be spending it constantly.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
It's kind of like we discussed earlier that the area that my luck is, if I had to pick a single area my luck is the best in, it's emergency replacement mimes. And you've got to do things to cultivate the kind of network that allow you to find an emergency replacement mime.
True.
If you don't do that, then you're going to call people, and all of a sudden you're that guy that I haven't heard from in 10 months and is now calling me because he needs something.
Mm-hmm. And that's
Absolutely.
an excellent way of any relationship, and also something tied up with right action and cultivating those ritual acts as well.
Right.
So we have a question. What rites, ritual, or I hope this is events because ENETs doesn't really sound just right. Events tie luck together. What symbol, etc., etc.
Yes. Everything ties luck. Everything you do with other people ties your luck. Some are more effective than others.
Toby?
Yep.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, and the audience member can correct me if I'm wrong. I think you're completely misunderstanding the question being asked.
Okay.
I think this is similar to if somebody were to ask, about what sort of ritual makes me heathen. Is a baptism sort of situation. And the answer to that, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, the answer to that is that's travel through. The ritual is a recognition of the action rather than the action itself.
In some circumstances, yes, but I mean, ritual is so dense. Ritual is so many layers. In some cases, particularly in symbol, you have both the recognition and the action itself at the same moment. It is, when we build those relationships and share that drink in symbol, we are both ritualistically tying ourselves together and physically tying ourselves together. We're sharing spit, which is another reason why I am very pro single horn past in that circumstance.
Now, one thing I will say, because I kind of want to, I read something different into this. It very much is tribal through, but I would say that one of the things that, in my experience, really ties your luck to someone else is witnessing their oath. And I've talked about in the past that there's in our particular area there's a thing called known as the oath, and I was one of the witnesses to the oath, and it was a very heavy oath, but that tied me to not just that person but everyone else, because by our tribal thew being what our regional thew, I don't even call it regional thew here, being what it is, that if I witness your oath, I am then now bound in a similar way to help you make sure that you achieve it. Mm-hmm. If I witnessed your oath within a formal context, not like somebody just randomly, but I'm talking about like within symbol. Yes, I'm going to call it symbol, and you guys are just going to have to deal with it, because it has to be symbol so that we can go. Let's get ready to assemble. Sorry.
So there we go,
Arkansas.
ladies and gentlemen.
Arkansas.
Three hosts have interpreted that question in 3 different ways and given you 3 different answers for it, all of which are valid, given the interpretation used.
Except for that answer, the symbol. That's not valid.
Yes, it is. It's 100% valid.
All I'm saying here is if that didn't answer your question, then you're listening to the wrong show.
Seriously, that is such a, that right there, ladies and gentlemen, that's heathenry right there. That's heathenry. So let's go here.
3 heathens, 4 answers.
I think we have pretty much hit every one of the questions that I see up. So good job, guys. Okay, so I want to ask this question. I want you guys to kind of give me a brief answer since we only have 10 minutes left. One piece of advice that you would give someone who was interested in better cultivating their luck.
Thorin, you want to go first?
That's a really hard one.
Yeah, I know.
Because, Toby and I disagreed on earlier, is I think luck is discrete. And when I say that, I mean that for the individual, there are going to be different things that you have luck with, and there are going to be things that you don't. And for my money, I think there are things that you can have negative luck with, for lack of a better term. And the way to me to go about it is to recognize what you have and think about what you want and work to make it so. I like to have all of the luck, personally. I like my luck to be good for everything. So I have cultivated around myself a mass of people that can make just about anything I want happen for me. I mentioned earlier I have terrible luck with my vehicles. I mean, absolutely atrocious luck with my vehicles. Last year, I bought a new car. 2 months later, it blows a head gasket. I haven't had the money to fix the damn thing yet. But that doesn't mean I've been without a car, because I had somebody, in my close group of friends who had a spare car has been letting me borrow it the whole time. That's the kind of luck I have. And that's the kind of luck that I continuously work at building. And that's really what it is. Is you have to know what you want, and you have to work at it and work for it and build that particular thing. I don't know that there's any way that you can build, luck as an undefined nebulous concept, but you can build it in specific places.
So, I think I'm going to take the opposite tack from Thorin. It's because luck is. Don't put yourself in situations where you need luck every day. Don't put yourself in situations where you have to spend luck all the time. Look at what you're doing in the patterns of your behavior and the patterns of your relationships, and look at oh man, that was lucky. Was that when I needed that luck, or did I just waste a bunch of luck because I put myself in a situation where I had to spend it foolishly? Those are going to be, guard your luck, hoard it, spend it miserly, because when you really need it, you really, really need it. And I don't think that my advice is mutually exclusive with Thorin's. I think they're both. I think they complement each other.
Certainly. And before you go, Lauren, if I can just build on something Toby said, there is, we did discuss earlier about the tie between luck and reputation. Is while you definitely need to, understand the areas that you want to build your luck in, and while, as Toby pointed, you need to spend your luck miserly, you need to spend it in the right places, you should also make sure that you are where the luck is being spent by other people. Does that make sense to you guys, or do I need to try to clarify that?
No, that makes sense.
Okay.
And Lauren, what's your answer?
I think the first, just being aware of it. Aware is such a huge step, because most of us aren't.
Mm-hmm.
Awareness, and then I'm going to say cultivate your relationship, but don't cultivate your relationship in a tit-for-tat kind of way. Don't try to cultivate things like that. Mm-hmm. Basically, try to just make right actions and do right things, and be heathen, and then kind of be aware, but also don't become obsessed by it either, because there are people who do. One more question. Here, let me find it. How do you deal with imposed ill luck from things like curses, the evil eye, you piss off an elf, you piss off your housewives and they've taken your keys. That's happened. Um,
I'm not your witch. I can't help you there.
Ladies and gentlemen, consult your local witch.
Sorry, I actually got distracted by something in the IRC for a second. Uh, yeah, see, the problem with that is witchcraft. The problem with that is it kind of, in a lot of ways, comes down to tribal thing or uh, individual concepts of magic, for lack of a better term.
It comes down to the esoteric, and that's not going to be a good answer. Consult your local wise person.
Yes.
And my answer is don't do shit that's going to piss them off in the first place.
True.
Don't intentionally go poking the bear.
So we've got 5 minutes left.
We have 4 minutes.
Oh, 4 minutes. So just a couple things we'd like to get off our plate. Thanks to Sam Flegel again for sponsoring us for another month. Why don't you go check out his stuff? Please, if you like what you see, consider purchasing it.
Don't consider it. Go and buy it.
Yeah, and you know that doesn't just mean spending money on his original paintings, though by all means they're awesome. If you can afford it, you should buy one. But you know what? Prints are awesome too.
They're and I have. Do I have it? No, it's not back here. Actually, next week I have 2 of his prints, and I gave one of them at Sumble a couple of weeks ago, and I mean everyone just talked about. I mean they're even better in person. I mean it just. And I'm not an art person, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They can render me, of all people, speechless.
Couple other things. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit us up on messages. Facebook is the best way to do it. Check out our Instagram. Check out we're everywhere on social media. We're on Tumblr. We even have an IRC channel that goes that is live in every episode. And while we endeavor to keep our show respectable, we make no such promises or attempts with our IRC. You've been warned. Also, fuck Marcel.
Yeah, and you know the thing is, if you want to get involved with any of that, or if you're interested in being an advertiser, really, if you want to know anything about us, heathentalk.com. All that information is right there at the top of the page. Plus, Josh has a great new blog entry up. I'm going to have a new networking entry up tomorrow, starting my networking series about how to find other heathens and managing group dynamics. So we got a lot to offer, guys. So come on and look and follow us on Facebook, where we post really bad memes, and that's the and, you know, we're also all on Twitter except Thorin. So you can find pretty much all of us on Twitter and
I will never
harass us
be
there.
on Twitter.
I mean,
never be on Twitter.
Or you can also just email our first name at heathentalk.com if you don't do the Facebook or the Twitter and you just want to get a hold of one of us, or hosts if you want to get a hold of all of us, which means me. So, because I hate to tell you, unless it's Facebook, I'm usually the one answering it.
Yeah.
Or Marc.
Thanks, everybody. If you have an idea for a show topic, something you'd like to see us cover, please hit us up at hosts@heathentalk.com.
Absolutely.
If you have somebody you would like for us to toast, same thing.
Definitely send us. And might I remind people, occasionally we do just get, hey, you should toast this person. Give us a paragraph or two about who they are and why we should.
Mm-hmm. And again, just to be clear, we're looking to toast people who are active heathens doing heathen things in their heathen communities. One last thing, what are we doing next week? Because we've got a great guest.
Oh, we do.
We do?
We have Dr. Jennifer Culver.
Oh, yay.
Coming back to us for fairy tales and ritual.
I'm excited since I've had to miss out last time, so I'm really excited.
So, should I go ahead and tell Kevin to fire that question up again for next week?
Yes, absolutely.
Kevin, fire that question up again for next week. You'll get a much more satisfying answer than we gave to you tonight.
Really? Really?
Or, at the very least, we won't be the ones that have to answer it, so.
That works as well.
So, Lauren, Thorin, you're doing it wrong.
And the boss is off tonight.
So nobody's the boss of us tonight. Everybody have a great week.